Thank you, Natalia. Do you wanna tell everybody a little bit about you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. You guys are
Yeah.
so lucky. I'm gonna say this out the bat. When I met Sherry, my business transformed forever. So like you guys being in proximity to this person is gonna like change your life. Just putting it up.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so my name is Natalia Gaitan. I am a Colombian immigrant building a business in Dallas. I serve clients here in Texas, but across the country as well. We are a team of three right now. We do brand and website design for female founders, Latinas, women of color, and minority owned businesses. And we are obsessed with brands powered by purpose, meaning that the people that we work with are building with a purpose beyond the dollars. They're trying to impact their community, support the people they love, and want to see win. So that is what we do all day, every day. Our clients are the freaking best. They're so inspiring, just like literally like Sherry. They have so much heart for who they work with. And it's just lovely to see people use their skills to change the world. So that's what we do every single day. For branding in general, there's many things that we could chat about, and I kind of like brought some things about podcasting in general. But I'm not sure of what like your why is, like what you worked on the strategy last session, but definitely podcasting is one of the biggest tools right now to build your personal brand or your business brand. So I'm so excited for you guys to like be on this journey because it's really going to change not only your life because you're sharing your journey with others, but other people who are listening in. So that's very exciting.
Yeah. Awesome.
Talk
Thank you.
about knowing your audience. That's good. You've got your niche nailed.
Yeah. Lots of practice. And I can say because Natalia and I have worked together for a long time. I mean, she was one of my first clients. I'm celebrating 5 years. See my little five.
Oh,
Still
congratulations.
there? Um, uh you were one of my she was one of my first clients, and so I've gotten to see her business evolve over time and both of our businesses evolve over time. And
Mhm.
so we both, I think, where sometimes the fundamentals are the same, it changes, right? And like Natalia just went through a huge rebrand, which is like that's a whole other seminar for another day on like rebranding and the challenges, of rebranding and the greatness of rebranding and how hard that is and all that stuff. But it's always moving and flowing, and you have to go with where's your target audience and what do they need now. And then you have this little like, I think one of the things that Natalia's done that's really cool is this little internal knowing, right? Of like, I really want to focus on this audience, but oh my God, I don't know, is that gonna work? And then going, you know what? Yeah, let's just do it. And if it doesn't work, we'll readjust again. And like, so there's always some flow. And I think you're such a good example of that. But then you pick something and then you own the crap out of it, right? Which I
That
think
is
you're
true.
which you're a good example of, right? Which is like, hey, I'm gonna shift a little bit, but then I'm gonna own the crap out of it, and then I'm gonna shift again.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we get a little wishy-washy. We're like, "Ooh, I don't know."
It's a journey. I feel like for our rebrand, understanding that we're serving, Latinas, women of color, minorities was a really big challenge in general because I had this audience built that felt more like bigger in size, but also maybe more generic in their interests. And I was really scared to like niche down so much. And you would think that we only work with Latinas and women of color and minorities, but I have so many people that do not identify as those things, but they're so pumped about what we're building. They're like this is yes, like this, there's no other person that we want to work with because they see our mission and our purpose and our drive. So it's funny because you get so scared, but then you like end up attracting the right kind of people that are in the outskirts of your niche.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Natalia. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
And anything you want to talk about, I'm going to talk. I moved around the presentation a little bit as we were talking. Um, because in true form fashion to me, I always like kind of dive right into work, but I want to go through some of why is the branding piece important? What can it look like? We're not going to do a whole big branding session because it's really something for another day. But
Sure.
we'll talk about it a little bit when it comes to the podcasting space, and I have some really good examples of that. But I just want to check in with everybody since last time. So Rory, I don't know, Rory, if you want to turn on your camera. Um, but Rory just joined us, so she wasn't able to make it last Friday. So she and I did a makeup class yesterday.
Oh,
So
fun.
she is up to speed. So Rory, we're super excited to have you here. Um, but for everybody, Rory just did this yesterday, but for Trisha and Tasha, how are you guys feeling since last week? Do you have any questions? Are you like not sure because the fundamentals of who you're talking to and what you want this podcast to be has to be there in order to move forward today, right? Because we're actually going to like write the name of the podcast
That's
and the
cool.
intro and the outro. So we got to know all that stuff first. So if you're struggling with any of that, or you have any questions, or how do you guys feel? So Trisha, I'll start with you.
Okay. So I made some notes for myself. I feel pretty good about it, I think. I did want to kind of just throw it out to you because, we were talking about whether it should be a little bit more broad in topics or if I should be like super niche on it. And so one of the things though, because there's so many different aspects to perimenopause, so Natalia, so I help women that are going through perimenopause balance their hormones, and particularly women that are my niche is women that are in business or leaders in their field. And so, and because it affects so much of your mindset and whenever you're working and as far as like your hormone imbalance. And so one of my thoughts was kind of take a tone as being like maybe like your work BFF and
Okay.
uh the and maybe using kind of like girlfriend style chats where we're talking about what's really happening to you in perimenopause.
Yeah.
And because I'm going to do mostly a solo with occasional aligned guest is my goal, and and how to use a mix of stories and education. And so
Okay.
sometimes that can be your stories and then how you can balance your hormones through certain meal plan, like certain types of eating. And because it's a different effect perimenopause is on every individual person. And so it's nutrition, exercising, and and then you can use like breath work to balance your symptoms as far as your nervous system and when you're having hot flashes, and kind of give tips on how to manage those scenarios when it's happening in real time.
Okay.
But to your point, Sherry, that we talked about, which kind of made me just a little bit concerned about doing that, is because what I'm building, I've decided is an online group coaching is going to be kind of my main directive. So I try to
Okay.
help more people and not burn out myself by doing all the one-on-ones. And so with that, I am a little concerned that going this route and not being so niche does make it hard to not overgive free information.
Okay.
Here's my opinion about giving away a lot of free information. I give away a ton of free information.
Mhm.
And the way that I have been coached and the way that I run my business is giving away a lot of free information because at the end of the day, you can go and search all this stuff up and you can listen to all my podcasts and get a lot of this, maybe get a lot of
Mhm.
this, not quite, but you can get a lot. But you're not going to get it curated in the way that I'm going to curate it in this class. You're not going to get the
Mhm.
community. You're not going to get this step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
And
right?
I agree with that.
And
Yeah.
so I think it's okay. And also, like, I see this with, and I'm just going to use the generic term coaches, right? Like, with all of us coaches, I'll throw myself in there too. Like, we kind of say the same thing over and over again. Like, I'll see people do a podcast on something and then they do a course, and you have more time to get into it. You have more time for discussion.
Yes.
You have more time
Yeah.
for, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. You do need to be a little careful about giving away the farm. So
Mhm.
there's always that, but I'd rather give it away for free, get people to be trusting me, then they want more, and now they want more, and now you can start selling them things and giving it
Yeah.
to them in a way that's more curated. Natalia, what's your, I mean,
Yeah.
Natalia, you're different because you get provide a product. So you're not like, you can't give away someone's logo for them.
Yes, but I feel like what Trisha is describing is she's also giving people a personalized plan, right? To tackle, and everybody's different.
Yeah, the goal is
So
to give them a transformation. And
yeah,
whenever they're working with me, is the transformation to be able to, I mean, honestly, the goal is to fire me. That they're able
Yeah.
that they're able to take what I teach them to be able to transform their life and their health and continue on in life as that transformed person. And then that is my hopes is what then they'll start telling everybody else. And they're like, oh, you look amazing. You're doing great. Your energy's up. And then they're going, oh, well, Trish.
well,
Yeah.
so that's perfect because it doesn't matter how much you share on the podcast, like how specific it is, it's never going to be tailored to one single person. So what people want to see in your podcast is, I'm going to tell you right away, because I'm not there, Perryman, but I'm like getting there. I want somebody to tell me that I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's how you start all of your conversations. You are not crazy, because that's what we're asking our friends and other women around us, because, hey, am I crazy? Or like, is this normal?
Is this normal?
Yeah. So I feel like that's the premise. And then I feel like bestie conversations are awesome. So people can see them reflect themselves reflected in the conversation, and seeing validated and be like, oh, I do need help. Like, this is normal. And this is the person that knows so much that can help me. So I wouldn't be scared of like oversharing details, because you're also selling detailed plans for everybody. So
yeah.
Thank you. And you're also selling them the idea of being part of a community long term. Because yes, you want them to fire you. You know, I mean, I feel like
I just use
say that all the time.
Yeah.
But also, like, you want to like have community of like, oh my God, am I crazy? And oh my God, this just happened. Like, you want a place where you can go and bitch that's not just Frisco business moms, right?
Yeah, because my thought is the online course. And then once we're kind of like through that, and you quote unquote graduated, and I know all about the Frisco moms. And we're going to I'll create a membership for them to I'm gonna do like maybe a $20 a month membership that grows. And that way we can continue staying in touch. So if there is ever something specific, there's always that accountability to reach back out to me and as a whole. And it may be somebody else that is dealing with it too, that's in that group.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
And I think now I'm getting into your business model, but there's also like the $100 a month program, which is new recipes every week, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can keep offering things.
Keep going.
You can keep going, right? You should never finish it in your course. And remember that half the people are not paying attention during the course, or they're not there during the course, right? Or they missed it, or, you know, like everybody has ADHD right now. And so like, you know, we only absorb 10% of the information anyway. So you can just say it over and over and over again in the group. Right. So don't walk away.
No, and you're so right. I listen to podcasts. I'm in Austin right now. I drove down. I literally got here 20 minutes ago and, and jumped right on it. I listened to a podcast 3 times. I could just keep replaying it to make sure the information sunk in my head.
Oh, good. All right.
Okay, so I'm good.
Okay, good. Tasha, how are you feeling? So Tasha has an interesting model where she's actually helping to run a business with her dad, who has been a consultant for a very long time, but she's starting to take over. And how do we have dad, but not have dad all the time? And how do we, right? Is that the Reader's Digest version?
Yeah, so after last week, it was a lot because I had to rethink everything. Because the way it was originally was we had these like 16 videos and he was going to interview different people from all over the world on the topics that he talks about in these like case studies. But then what you said, which is like true, well, what is that then? And then what is the longevity of that? If it's just going to be those, then what? And it can't just be about 2 white old men talking crap about 20 years ago. So I was like, oh, how am I going to like make it more modern, make it more inviting to across generations, not just like retired people that were in the corporate world. So it was a lot. And I spent a lot of time. I've written lots and lots and lots of notes, piles of notes on kind of getting my head around it and about what can I bring in terms of my skill set. So I'm a psychologist. I do all the assessments in the business. I develop all the training and I do a lot of the facilitation. So I was thinking, well, what can I bring and how can I mix it up a bit? It can't just be those videos. It can't just be them chatting about those case studies. So I had lots of different ideas about, I could talk about imposter syndrome, but using like relevant business examples and bring in those leaders to talk about their experiences. And I've got lots of other people that I've been meeting that I could bring on. Because I still wanted to be mostly like a guest podcast, mostly, but it doesn't have to be completely like that. I could also maybe do like literally an online debrief of an assessment that I do, which might be really useful to some people. So I've had a lot of thought about how can I make this like a long-term thing and more my thing. So I could interview my dad on a specific topic to bring him into the arena. And then he can talk about one or two of his case studies. And then maybe later down the line, I could have him and one of his ex-business people talk about a topic. But I think it needs to be, as Sherry said, it needs to be me. I need to build my personal brand since I'm owning the business and I'm going to run it for the next 10 years or whatever. So my dad has to kind of step away. I haven't told him this yet, so that's going to be interesting. So he has to step slowly away from the business as I become kind of the face of the business. So it was a lot. And my head was spinning a lot, which is good because I'm learning a lot. But I really am starting to think more long term about it. So yeah, I'm not quite there yet, but I kind of think I am. That it needs to be not just about fixing. Well, when I think about the title, it can't just be about like low team performance or whatever. It has to be broader than that. Like how, like, and Tamika, brilliant. You haven't met her yet, but we were talking briefly yesterday, and she was like, it could be something like the ugly side of people, because we're Solomon People Solutions. We're talking about solving people's problems within business. So, and I'm a psychologist, so I'm people side, and he's the strategic side. So let me focus more on the people side. Like, how do we deal with people that are tricky in the business? So that's where my head's at, but I haven't really come up with a title. I've got long ideas of all the different names I could come up with, but it needs to be catchy. I want it not to be boring, obviously, like, oh, team building or some crap. So it needs to be something exciting.
We're going to work on that today. So we'll
but
leave
that's
today
where my
with
head's
that.
at. So there's a lot going on in my head.
So what is the brand promise? So what is the podcast promise? When someone listens to the podcast, they will come away with
solutions, people solutions.
People solutions.
To what problem?
Yeah. Oh, there's lots of, well, to tricky team players.
Okay.
That's the main thing, because we really want the whole, I mean, there's lots of programs we run, but the underlying current is how do you engage your team? How do you mobilize your team towards a specific agenda or towards a specific initiative? And the way that my dad's done this through Cadbury Schweppes, Dr. Pepper, through all these big companies, is he has a specific model that he takes them through. So it's about using that model and different elements of that model to teach people how to do that. So that's what it is at the end of it.
So it's about getting your team moving in the same direction. Yeah, cool. Okay. Excellent. So, good. I think we're in a good enough spot. And I know Rory is too, though she fell off. So hopefully she comes back. All right. So, sorry, we should have done this before, but I just want to do a quick, anybody have any questions on the agenda? Okay.
No, my love.
So we have next week is technology. We're going to talk about that at the end because I want you to start buying your stuff. It's your favorite thing I'm ever going to say in this class is you have permission to shop. So we'll talk about that at the end of today. And then after that, we'll have office hours. So because next week's going to be a lot of content. So I added in office hours after that. So, all right. So you already met Natalia. This is her website. If you guys want to head on over there, check it out. I wanted to talk a little bit about branding of a podcast. So again, this is not a branding class where we're not going to talk about overall branding, but I wanted to just start by showing you an example of someone that I believe does an incredible job of visually branding their podcast. And it has gotten to the place where it's almost their entire personal brand as well. And so I just kind of wanted to show you an example of how your podcast brand can be utilized in your business and almost become its, its own kind of standalone thing. So these are some screenshots from a podcast called Wisdom of the Sages. It is a daily podcast.
Wow.
Daily podcast, two hosts. They do it from wherever they are in the world. They are both yoga teachers. So Raghunath, who's over on the right in the upper right hand corner, he is the not the straight man. He's the funny guy, right? He was a former punk rock front man and big personality. And then Kastuba, who's on the left in all these pictures. Kastuba is the studious. Thoughtful, quiet, right, person in the group. And so they are an incredibly entertaining combination, and they read sacred literature, sacred Vedic literature. And they have one series of books that is, the length of this room in volumes, and they just literally go through it and just talk about it. And they do it live, which is kind of cool. The podcast doesn't come out live. They record it on Zoom so that they can have other people. So you have other people who can be, they invite guests, and then everybody talks before and afterwards and then during the podcast. So they have been doing this for years now. I think they've got over 1,000 episodes. They've done very, very well. But I love the way that they've branded it, because they call it Wisdom of the Sages, but they've utilized, like, this is their thumbnail in the bottom left-hand corner, right? And it's got a couple elements that I think are really important for branding. Pictures of the person, right? This is all done for personal branding. So we want to have some really good pictures of you. And we're going to talk about that later. You're going to actually upload some headshots for us and so forth. They're very consistent, right? They've got Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast. They've got their names on it so that they're cross-promoting with the name of the podcast itself, but then they've got themselves as the host. So it allows them to have not only the podcast brand, but their individual brands. And that doesn't always stay on there, but it does often. Here it does. Mostly because Raghunath has his own name and they both have their own businesses. They both have their own things that they do. And so they wanted to make sure that their names are also included in here. But they've done a very job of staying visually consistent, right? So bottom left-hand corner, this is the thumbnail. And I'm going to tell you what a thumbnail is here in a second if you don't know. This is I don't remember I think this is like the end screen down on the bottom in the middle. That's the end screen for all of their videos. They even have merch. So I should have worn my Wisdom of the Sages t-shirt. But they have merch. They now have events that they do, but they've got merchandise. In this upper right-hand corner, this is the thumbnail design that they use for all of their podcasts. And then on the bottom during the podcast, I believe this stays there, this little thing down in the bottom right-hand corner. And then they have just some other graphic elements. So this is a really great example of how you can take that brand and use it in lots of different kind of places. It's a really entertaining podcast if you ever want to watch it. It's on YouTube. It's really fun. Raghunath is my yoga teacher. So I go to India with him a lot, and I'm also his go-to photographer. So I'm a little bitter that the picture in the bottom left-hand corner was not taken by me, but I try to, getting over it. Next time I'm with them together, I'm sure I'll take some pictures. Just kidding. All right. So do you guys kind of see how this can, like, that idea of a visual brand for a podcast and how that can be utilized?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the thumbnail. So do you guys know what a podcast thumbnail is? All right. So this is what a podcast thumbnail is. So when you look up either of my podcasts, you are always going to have this little visual representation. It's almost like the logo for your podcast, but you always have it in, it's always in this little square format, because when you look, like, here's on Apple Podcasts in the bottom right hand corner, that's my Heart of the Hustle. In the upper left hand corner, you can see my Your Marketing Mentor. So it's always this square format. So we call it the thumbnail. You can also call it like the podcast logo. You can do like your own logo too, but really this is what everyone sees. So for Heart of the Hustle, Natalia created this logo for me, because I wanted something else that's special. That we're working on trademarking that. Everything's gonna be like, it's Heart of the Hustle Studios, it'll be Heart of the Hustle Productions. Like, we're building a lot around that as sort of a part of the, a adjunct business to the business. And so I actually had her create a logo for the podcast, but it was with the idea of something much larger. I did not do that for Your Marketing Mentor because I didn't feel like I needed to. This is my brand font, right? These are my colors. I didn't need to, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? And you can also see one of the things that I did was I've got this kind of common visual element between the two. So you can kind of, oh, okay, yeah, it's sort of the same person, that not that anyone's probably ever going to notice that, but I notice, these little kind of details. So this is what we mean by your podcast thumbnail. So you want to have your podcast thumbnail utilize your brand aesthetic that you already have, and then just take it to the next level for for the podcast. So what we're going to have you do is I've actually created Google Drive folders for you. And if you go into the community and you go underneath this week's or the upcoming week, I guess it'll be in this week's, I'll add them there. And I think that there are links in here, but there's a Google Drive folder in there, and it's got a folder in there. Each of you have your own folder, and there's a thumbnail folder. And inside, we're going to ask you to upload some headshot options, as well as any brand guidelines that you have, any logos that you have, any fonts you like to use, any of that, because we want to make sure, Natalia wants to make sure that we use that as the basis for your podcast thumbnail, because we don't want it to be totally different than your branding. Asia is a great example. So Natalia did all of her branding, and I did all of her photography. I did all these photos except this one because it's me and I can't take pictures of myself, but you get the idea. But this is completely in line with her overall brand. So if you go, I encourage you to go to her website. It's gorgeous. Natalia designed it, and it's just asiamahmood.com. And Tasha, we heard her speak yesterday. So you got to see Natalia, you weren't there, but she did a live podcast at the Plano Women's Chamber event. And so she did a live recording of the podcast with the editor of D Magazine.
She's so articulate. I'm
Yeah,
so sad
she
I
was
missed
great.
it.
And
She's
so
so
they
good.
had this logo in these big,
Love that.
like on the big screens and stuff. So I was thinking about you. But it's a really great example of how to tie it in with your overall website and your overall brand. Now, Asia had the luxury of having Natalia do it all, and we did it all at once because we knew that podcasting was going to be an important part of her overall strategy. With Denise, this is Denise Capurso. For anybody in the girl gang, you might know her. So we just did this. She's like, she didn't have a whole lot of branding stuff. We just picked a font that looked kind of like the one that she has on her website. And, this was one where we didn't have really strong design guides, but we used her current website as an example. I actually designed this one. This is kind of a combination of Natalia and I. She did Bob's logo. This is one of my clients, Bob Healy. I did all the photography, and then we just kind of made, just something a little unique. This, if you notice, is very similar to this. Because Bob is sort of part of Raganos community, and we, for reasons that have not been totally disclosed. Long term, there's some tie-in. I'll just leave it at that. So there's some intention, behind that. And then you can see kind of what I've done. Does anybody have questions on what a thumbnail is, why they need it, how it might build in with your bigger branding? Does that all make sense? Does everybody have brand guidelines? And okay, all right. So Tasha, you're saying no. Rory, you've got your a little bit. You're like, I don't know.
I mean, I have a logo. I have a
Okay.
logo and I have a website, but
Okay.
we've never discussed anything about what it should be or shouldn't be. And my dad's, I think I've told you before, my dad is obsessed with red. So when I came to him after seeing you talk at some women's event, I was like, Dad, we really need to talk about branding. He's like, well, we've got red. I'm like, Dad, red is not just, you can't just have red. So anyway, so I need to introduce some blues and some other calming colors because as you know, red can be very aggressive and too overpowering. And I love red, but it can't be the main color.
Yeah.
So I have some other ideas. See, I've been working hard on designing different colors and things. So I have some ideas on what colors would be good.
Okay.
But I don't have any set anything. So
Well, the nice thing about doing this, it's a little backwards. Like normally we have our branding first, but this might be a good opportunity to kind of work with Natalia and be like, hey, can you help us put together, what our colors should be, what our font should be, right? All of that kind of stuff. So, not, not my area of genius, but Natalia, do you have any other comments on like how it should tie in? I want to pull up Asia's website because I just think it's such a great example of how to do this really, really well. But do you have any other thoughts on what I was just talking about?
Well, to me, it's like making sure that we can read it. Like legibility is so important. Sometimes, like we just like have so many ideas. You want to use a font, a script, watercolors, like really kind of like make it simple is best, especially because you're looking at it on your phone most of the times, and it's really teeny tiny. So making sure that you can see your face, you can read and it's not only the font, but like the colors that have enough contrast between each other. And just making sure that it's a memorable name. I'm not a fan of having the actual microphone in it unless it's like required, just because it just feels really old right now, unless it's like part of what you have built for your brand. I think people are craving like so much authenticity right now. Like a fun, unique photo feels so much better than like a stiff headshot. And that's it. Just like legibility and making it easy to remember.
Yeah, good. And a lot of that, again, this is all stuff Natalia is going to help us with, but we need to give her some of the feedback. Let me on what your brand is already. I just wanted to show you, this is such a good example of how to do a brand really, really well, but also how to make sure that your podcast, while it's a standalone thing, ties in with your branding. So this is Asia's website. Again, photos by me, website, and all the copy by Natalia and her team. It's gorgeous and very much her. She was like,
It's very her.
very her. Like she was literally, when we were first started talking about colors in her brand, and she was like, I wear black, ivory, and tan. My house is black, ivory, and tan. I'm like, cool. We're gonna make your brand black, ivory, and tan. And she was like, really? I'm like, yeah, we'll
And I
just tell
think
the
it's
time.
her demeanor, like as a leader, she's so calm and like focused that I feel like this colors also represent everything her brand is built on. So just yeah, a good coincidence, I guess.
Yeah. And so this is her podcast. And so you can see that little logo there that I showed you earlier in the presentation. So it ties in really, really nicely with her overall brand. And I think you can see that with mine too. So I want to show you, if you want to look at some, and again, you're not going to have to design these on your own, but I want to start moving into talking about our name. And I'm going to do that by showing you let's look at some of the top podcasts. And I just want to start looking at names. Some of the best podcast names are 3 letters. So 3 or 4 letters, and that's it. Because you don't have a whole lot of space.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
have,
It's really
it's,
hard to squish. Mhm.
and on your phone, like if you guys go on your phone right now and go to Spotify or whatever and look for me, like look for my podcast, it's this big. So, you know, I recommend having a picture on there. For some reason, you're not, but everybody here is really making, for the most part, a personal brand. Maybe not Danny. Oh, Natalia, side note, Danny, who's not here today, he just started working for Broad Basis, who Natalia did their logo.
Oh, fun. That's a
So
good
you
circle.
already have all their branding.
That's
It's weird.
perfect.
So that's good. But really like three words, right? The news agenda. You could do like the as a little thing. I'm a big fan of those, but I know not everybody is. Paula's Marathon Run Club, 4 words.
Oh, that's fun.
Telepathy tapes, talk tracks. There is research that thumbnails with images of people do significantly better. So I highly recommend that, again, unless for some reason it doesn't make sense for you. But this is kind of funny. This is apparently hysterical. One of my client who I showed you his thumbnail earlier, loves this podcast. That's a great,
This is a great one. So
super
good, easy, short. You can read it. Contrast is great. Her face is awesome. Nailed it.
Now, this is hard to do, as you're going to find out in a few minutes when you start working on your own name, right?
Oh my God. All the names are taken. It makes me want to
All
cry.
the names are taken, and it's a thing. Mad, sad, and bad. That's cute. I find it's a little hard to read, but I like it, right? 4 words,
Oh, these are
right?
fun. This is a great
So,
thing to look at.
Joe Rogan podcast. I mean, if you look at all these podcasts, it's 3 or 4 words, which is really, really, really hard. Because none of us are famous. If you didn't realize that, I'm sorry to tell you. Super
I
bummer.
am Sherry. I am.
Rory, maybe. Rory has the best last name. For what, so Rory does, and we'll have
It's
you
perfect.
introduce yourself in a little bit, Rory. Once we'll take a break and introduce you in a few minutes. But it's perfect. So we're going to absolutely use money and in hers, but we're not famous, and so it's hard. We can't really do like the Mel Robbins podcast or the Joe Rogan podcast or whatever. You can make arguments about the chicken or the egg when it comes to those guys, right? But they still had a bigger audience than we did when we're starting our podcast. So you want to have your brand promise, right? Or your podcast promise in the title. So it's an incredibly important part of grabbing people's attention from the very beginning. So we're going to dive into that piece. So let's look at this. All right. Couple things when it comes to your podcast name. Some of these are obvious, but be super clear, super relevant. Make sure that it reflects, right, what value you're giving to your target audience. Because sometimes we want to be like, we want to be cute, but when we're cute, we're not telling them what it's about, and people are just going to scroll by. So there has to be, it's really hard, right? We're going to sit here and do this for about 45 minutes probably with all of you, right? It's okay. Like it's real hard to get something that's short and concise and cute, but also sort of has the idea of the brand promise. And, you might not hit all of it, but and something that maybe isn't taken, or at least isn't taken by someone who's used it in the last couple years. So that's one thing I'll say. There are a lot of podcasts that start and never go anywhere, right? They've got a couple episodes, and there are Heart of the Hustle podcasts, right? When I started that, I knew that, but none of them have been active for at least 2 years. And so I was like, all right, fair game. And then Oprah's network just came out with a Heart and Hustle TV show. And all my SEO on YouTube is struggling. So we're going to start. I know, it's a bummer. So you do the best you can. That's a little bit of a cautionary tale, but at the end of the day, as long as if you put my name in it with Heart of the Hustle, it's fine, right? So you do the best you can with that. But one of the things you're going to want to do today as you're working on your name ideas is do some research and see if you can find other podcasts that are active with that information, with that same name. Keep it short and memorable. Aim for 1 to 4 words, no more than 4 words for sure. Again, check for existing podcasts with that name. I like to get the URL for everything that I do, even if I don't necessarily use it. So I own heartofthehustle.com. It's important. I think it's also important from a trademark perspective if you've got it, but
Maybe Oprah will buy it from you.
huh?
Yeah, maybe Oprah will buy it for you.
me.
You make some bucks.
I know. I like that idea. Make sure you're including keywords. So if you are, a person that talks about employees, right? Employees might be in it, or teams, or perimenopause, right? Like Trisha, I mean, you might not want to be that clear, but you might want to be that clear because
Yeah.
you want to make sure you're discoverable from an SEO perspective.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think just now. So all my handles and like my DBA that is Living Well with Trish.
Yeah. So you can do that too. Let's finish this list and then we'll talk about it some more because I think it's a good example. You want to have something that allows for growth. So if you go back and look at what they did with Wisdom of the Sages is, yes, it's a great podcast name, but now they're doing Wisdom of the Sages retreats, Wisdom of the Sages merch, Wisdom of the Sages conferences, right? So they picked a name that they can build on. Same with Heart of the Hustle. You can build on that if you want to. You might not want to, right? And that's okay too. It kind of, again, goes back to your strategy. Avoid anything that's overly specific or like super trendy, just because you want to make sure that this thing has legs and you're not going to like date yourself into, one little moment in time. Again, unless you're okay with that, but I wouldn't, for any of you, that doesn't make any sense. Make it easy to spell and pronounce, and open up that ChatGPT or Claude. Claude is actually a much better writer than ChatGPT, but if you've been using ChatGPT and have it trained on who you are, then use ChatGPT, but Claude can be a better writer. I sometimes go back and forth between the two. So let's dive in. I want you guys to start thinking about this, working on this. Trish, do you want to keep talking about what we were just talking about? Is it Living Well with Trish?
Yeah, that's Living Well with Trish. That's what all my social handles are. And then like I said, it's my DBA with the government. So I think it's taken though. I think that's the only thing that was taken. I'd have to look to see how relevant, like when their last podcast was.
Yeah.
And so maybe that may make a difference because my other thought was if that was maybe something along the lines of like aging out loud. And then
I love that.
And then maybe if I had to put some type of little small parentheses underneath it, if there's another competitor using that, or another person using that name, because it is catchy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
And I thought maybe things we don't know, aging out loud, things we didn't know, something like that.
Go ahead.
Can I jump in? I just got off last week with my attorney because I'm working on my own podcast, and we're using a tagline for Hola Luz Creative. That's "You are luz," like you are light. That's like our tagline, and that's going to be the name of the podcast. And we found 2 or 3 that haven't been active since 2020, and she was like, immediately no. immediately no.
Mhm.
She recommends to really pivot into something parallel, just because even if that person it hasn't been active and then they decide to move forward legally,
Yeah,
you're not
you're
on the
done.
good side. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good to
Yeah.
know.
So my only issue with living well with Trish is no one
Mhm.
knows who you are.
Yeah.
And there's no promise to that, right?
Mhm.
Um, so what are they getting? They don't know. They don't know
Mhm.
who it's for. They don't know. But I like the aging, or I mean, you know,
Mhm.
whatever, something with perimenopause. So what I want you guys to do, start brainstorming some ideas. We can sit here and chat. Um, Go to Google, see if anybody's got that, is using that podcast. I would also open Apple Podcasts on your computer and check there, because some people might have one on Apple Podcasts, but they didn't do a good job of SEO optimization, so it's not showing up in a Google search. So I would cross-reference there. The other thing you might want to open is, I just use GoDaddy, or one of those, just so you can look at to see if the URL is available. If it's not the end of the world, but it's nice to have and it's good information to know. So spend a few minutes kind of brainstorming ideas, do a little bit of research, think about it. Why don't we take like 7 minutes? I'm gonna do a quick bio break, so I'll be right back. But think about it, come up with names, do a little research, and then we can do some laser coaching in about 5-10 minutes. Sound good? Okay. anybody needs some laser coaching, let me know. One thing I realized I did not say is all these meetings are over lunch. So we all are welcome to eat. So it was intentionally designed this way so that we could kill two birds with one stone and eat. So please feel free. I'll give you another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll kind of regroup and see where everybody's at.
Okay. All right. So
Okay,
I
how's
use
it going?
good. I think so. I kind of like this concept. It doesn't look like it's taken. The Perry office and think it says think the office, but for real women navigating hormones and careers with heart and humor.
Yeah. What does office designate to people, though? Let's think about that.
Work.
Perry office. Work. So it could be
But
like you could do a whole like come into my office.
mhm.
Okay. What do you guys think?
Because the
So,
agent out loud, there's like 20
oh
different
yeah.
variations of it.
Yeah. 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 I think it's a cute idea. I think you could do something and like yeah. It's hard. It's hard, right? Because there's a lot of
Yeah, oh
names.
yeah.
But I like having Perry in there because people know what I'm
Mhm.
your target audience and we know what that means.
Mhm.
Tasha?
So I've gone through a lot of the keywords, and there are hundreds on leadership, team building, blah blah. But my dad recently wrote a book called Translate, Motivate, Activate, which are very business terminology, and it's actually the process that we actually teach organizations to go through. And there's nothing like that out there called Translate,
What's
Motivate, Activate.
what's the first word?
Translate. So to be able to translate what your team needs and then to kind of instill it into the behaviors of the organization. But I know what you're thinking, because people are like, what does this mean? So I'm trying to think about how can I use that in a title. And I also looked at, my dad's often been referred to as the CEO whisperer. So he's really able to distill information from the CEO down to the teams, or, you know, so kind of translating information, like hidden information. And that's been his top skill in all the organizations. And there's nothing like that either. So I'm trying now move to that. I've written a long list of things I can't do. And now I'm working on the few words that are not there as a podcast and making sure that it's understandable to the audience. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So
I here's it goes back to strategy. And if you are not seeking to be discoverable when like for people who don't already know you, right? Like Trish, you want people who are in perimenopause to be Googling about perimenopause and find you, right? But Tasha, you've got more of a like a niche, you know, a little bit more of a niche audience. These people might already know you. So having a name like that ties in with a book might be okay, right? Even though it's not as Googleable, which is a technical term.
yeah.
Even though it's not as Googleable, right? If you can, you know, if you can kind of defend like, hey, when you know, as I'm talking to people, they're going to get what this means.
Yeah, the reason why I think that might be, I mean, I'm not fixed on that yet, but I might be direction is that as a psychologist, I can also be the translator. I can also translate those behaviors into actionable steps. So I think it's not only my dad, it can also be me. And it also could be me moving forward.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about. That's where my head's at. So, and it's not just about building teams. That's not what we do. So it can't just be like team building or leadership skills, because it's not just that at all, actually. So yeah, that's
What's
where
the problem that you solve when people come to you? Their teams aren't doing what you want them to do, right?
correct. So we work out where the gaps are, where the miscommunications between teams or between departments, and get them literally on board with the same agenda across different functions or different departments. So in a word, we translating everybody's needs into a single goal.
Yeah. The challenge with the word translate is you're going to have to explain it, because translate to me means I don't know what Natalia's new business name means because it's in Spanish and I don't know what it means, right? And so I need Google Translate to translate it for me. I would never, like, you can explain that it means behavior, but I'm not going to get that from the beginning. And so I'm that word, even though I get the analogy, I think it people are going to think you're talking about language. Does anybody else have that same gut reaction? Like,
I think
When I
more
Yeah,
than
I
that
thought
to
it was
me is
language.
how long it is. It's really long and like wordy. Like it just feels harder to pronounce. So that'd be my concern.
Okay.
and maybe it's, you know, because I've pushed you on this, I've asked you this a few times, which is what is the brand? Why do people come to you? We need to get our team on the same page, right? So maybe it's something like that, right? Getting it, you know, get your team on the same, you know, get your team on the same path. Get your team on, too many words, but
I know. I'll work on that.
let's chat GPT it, man. I'm serious. I mean, Heart of the Hustle came from ChatGPT. Full disclosure. Now, it was a long discussion with ChatGPT. It wasn't like, you know, but it was, hey, here's what I'm all about. Can you help me come up with podcast names? So go ahead and go do that. Like seriously, we're use this time because we're gonna need it. It's okay to do that. Rory has the best name, so we're definitely going to use one of our words has to be money.
Yeah. So yeah, because I think the name is kind of unique. So this is what, and I did put it into Chat GPT, but Rory Money Talks. So Money Talks, right? And then I was thinking of unplugged or uncensored. When I think of unplugged, if you're in the Dallas area, right, it used to be Dale Hansen unplugged and he'd just go off the charts about stuff, right? Long term or long time, journalist, news guy, sports, whatever, and he'd tell it like it is. So that was my kind of, I think, thought behind it all is just real conversations, real business, no corporate filter kind of thing. And I just don't know, like Roy Money Talks, like Money Talks, right? Unplugged or uncensored. So that was my thought.
Well, and going back to why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll talk a little bit more about your brand promise because I know you weren't with us last week. So introduce yourself to the gang.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rory Money. I am the founder of Magnet HR Group. We are a payroll service provider that provides services to small and mid-size or provides solutions to small and mid-sized businesses. And then hopefully early next year, we'll be offering tax solutions, tax strategy as well.
Um, but so much more, really overall kind of HR guidance, right? Benefits, right? Not just
Yeah,
payroll. We talked about
that
all
would
that
be like the
yesterday.
30-minute conversation intro. Yes. HR, employment law, payroll, taxes, benefits, structure of benefit deductions, workers' compensation, risk management. So all of it really under the HR umbrella.
Yeah.
And I've been
Did
doing it for
you?
25 years.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm sorry.
I gotta imagine that there's some other podcast called Money Talks. Did you find a bunch?
I did, but when you pull up like Rory Money Talks, you get Rory McIlroy, the golfer. So that's what, yeah, it comes up. Becoming wealthy and well known with Roy Vaden. So Roy's not a common name, but it is starting to pop up. People are starting to name their kid Rory from Gilmore Girls, right? Um, but
Yeah.
nothing is coming up. There's Money Unplugged. Um,
What about just Money Talks? There's got to be, I would be shocked if there's not some. My only thing is, I think it's good to brand you, and I know you have other things that you do, right? And we talked about a lot about this being a personal brand thing, is getting real clear on the promise that you're going to make in this. You know what I mean? What are people going to learn when they get here? Like, what does it mean that money talks? Who are you talking to, right? So it because it's just the podcast is just for businesses, right? And it's about helping them save money and lots of and while supporting their employees,
I
right?
think it's employees too, because like you get into life insurance and what plans do you have or have you made any? Like that's death is a promise. And
Yeah.
have you planned for it? So I think it's more for just people in general. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And I love that idea, but it's very challenging to do a podcast for everyone or anything for everyone, right?
Mhm.
It's got to be very, very specific to what is this person's problem? How do I help fix it? And getting super, super niche in that. And being very, very clear about who you help and how you help them. Because talking to all employees about life insurance is great, but that's a whole other podcast, right? About why you need life insurance. So and we talked about this a little bit yesterday too, is like how to follow the money back, right? Where are you going to make money And
Right.
how do we sell that? Who do you sell that to, those services to, and how do you make like, because that's where this thing needs to focus. We can talk about anything to anybody,
Right.
but it's not gonna build you a loyal fan base. It's not gonna build, you want people who are like, I'm in perimenopause and I don't want to, I don't want to take drugs or whatever, whatever Trish, whatever you teach, right? I want to figure out how to do it the natural way. I go to Trish. And that's a distinct moment in time. That's a distinct set of challenges, right? So what are the distinct set of challenges that you have? And I know a couple of the ones we talked about yesterday were, right? Like um saving money, right? Saving money on it, managing your employee, on your HR, while keeping your employees happy and looking at at tax. So it was all like increasing the bottom line with Rory, right? Maybe it's
Okay.
bottom line money, right? With Rory.
Okay.
Increase the bottom line, hosted by Rory Money. Well, no, we want money.
Yeah. Okay.
Take some of those
I'll
notes that we
research it
did
some more.
yesterday, right? And put those into ChatGPT and see what they come back with,
Okay.
right? Fasha, are you having any luck with chat? Coming back with some ideas? What do you got?
Yeah, there's loads, but then I need to check kind of how popular they are. So they've got loads like echoes of behavior, mind our teams, mind over teams, which I think is pretty cool. Why teams do that, the behavior lab, decoding teams, the behavior
Oh,
brief, which I quite like.
what?
The behavior brief, translate to lead, the leadership signal, team dynamics unlocked, or leading by behavior. So there's quite a few. So I need to have a look and see. But I like decoding teams. I like the behavior lab. So I need to go through these.
There's
I
a
like it.
decoding leadership podcast, and there's an aligning teams and decoding
Mm.
resistance podcast. There's a decoding leadership podcast. The challenge with behavior is it's a little like translate, right? Like, what are we
It could
talking
be any
about?
behavior. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it could be team behavior, right?
Yeah.
But I think you have to qualify that. But decoding teams, there isn't one.
What's there not one of? Decoding teams.
Decoding teams is available. What else?
Translate to lead.
What does translate mean, though? That's back to that translate word. I know you like it.
Only because it's in the book. And now leading by behavior, I bet you there's hundreds, but that's a very business term. Mm.
Leading by Behavior podcast. There is the Behavioral Leadership podcast. There is a Heart and Science podcast, but there is not a Leading by Behavior podcast.
Okay. Okay. And what about the leadership signal?
Yes. And they posted a month ago.
What about mind over teams instead of mind over matter, which I quite like the play on words.
I really like that one too. That's my favorite one.
Mine too.
It's short and easy.
Yeah. And also it brings in the psychology element, which I thought.
Nope, nothing.
Okay. Okay. What about team dynamics unplugged?
I like that. To me is very clear.
Yeah, I think that one too.
There is a oh, sorry, it won't stop talking.
Yeah, it's okay.
Team Dynamics Unplugged. There is I don't know how to make it go away. So now what you can do is say, hey, chat, these are the ones I like. Come up with more around that.
I shall do that.
I mean, seriously. I can't find anything on YouTube, but that doesn't mean,
On the one Team Dynamics Unplugged?
yeah.
Okay.
But I found a website, but it's not.
Okay. There's another one called the Leadership Activator, but I'm not on that one.
Yeah, Team Dynamics Unplugged. Look a little bit more, but there's something called Hoverment Lab, but it could just be a one-time.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd have to do a little bit of a deeper dive, but
Okay, I will do.
team leadership, Team Dynamics Unplugged. There's nothing for like just that name.
Okay. And Mind Over Teams.
I don't think there was one there either.
Okay.
Is that we did that one? Yeah, so there is a Team Dynamics Revealed, but there is not a Team Dynamics Unplugged. Again, I'm doing a very quick Google search, so
Yeah, check.
there is a Dynamics Unplugged, but there isn't a Team Dynamics Unplugged. So that's a good, to me, that's very clear.
Okay.
Like I get that, right? You're gonna help me manage my team, right?
Okay.
What do you guys think? Trish and Rory, Natalia, does that make sense? That to me feels
Yeah.
like I get what that
You know
is.
what you're getting whenever you tune in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know what I'm getting. Rory, any luck looking through chat?
I mean, there's a lot of I mean, just putting in money and HR game plan, perspective. I don't know. I'll have to play with it.
Okay. So, what I'd like to do, because we've got another half hour, is I want to at least introduce how to write your intro and your outro. So, your intro and your outro, and we might not get it done today, and that's okay, right? But you want to have at least a sense of what your title is going to be because it's going to, fall off of that. Your intro and your outro literally play at the beginning of your podcast and at the end of your podcast. So the intro can be long. It should be very short. A lot of podcasts don't even have an intro anymore. And so we will probably just record it and you will actually use it sometimes as just your first episode as like a little commercial. Right? But it is it's essentially the description for your show. And we are going to have you record it, your voice recording it, so that you can use it at the beginning of the podcast if you'd like. You can also just use it for marketing purposes, but we're going to write an intro. So again, it's kind of the synopsis of the show. So when people log on, you could be like, hey, I'm Sherry Sutton. We're here talking to, this is what we did. This is what the promise of this podcast is, right? So let's dive into a little bit on how to write your podcast description. Let me share my screen. Okay. So the first thing you're really going to want to think about with this is you always want to lead with the listener, right? So are you struggling with this? Who is it for? What did they get? Right? We did this all last week as well. You want to make sure you highlight the transformation, right? In every episode, I'm going to use yours, Trish. In every episode, I'm going to teach you how to use food as a way to help those nasty perimenopause symptoms. Right? Food, breath work, yoga, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah,
But what's
yeah.
the promise of what you're going to give them in that, right? What problem do you solve? Show your personality, right? If Rory, if you're going to be a like unplugged kind of podcast, you're going to be like, this is the place where I'm going to give you no BS solutions to how to save money on your taxes, right? Like be real clear about what who you are and the personality and the vibe you're going to bring to this thing. Then you're going to want to make sure you have the keywords, right? So what are the things that people are going to want to search for? Trish, you have a great one, right? Perimenopause.
Yeah, perimenopause, hot flashes.
Perimenopause. I mean, you have to be a little clear about that, right? Perimenopause, solving perimenopause with food, solving menopause with breathwork, solving menopause, right? Keep it short and snappy. So 2 to 3 sentences, and you have a. I'm going to give you a formula here in a second for this. And then you want to end with an invitation, right? Join me every week, or I think everybody's doing an every other week podcast, right? Join me every other week on Fridays where I dish all the whatever, dish all the tea, dish all the whatever, right? So I'm actually going to show you an example of this. Okay, so this is Charmingly Toxic. I told you about this podcast a little while ago. I helped her to start this podcast. I'm just going to share again, but I'm going to make sure that I share my sound. So what we did is we started with a introduction podcast, and that's essentially what you're going to be writing today. It's just a little intro, and I'm going to play it for you so you guys can hear it. It's about 1.5 minutes. It doesn't need to be, right? All right, here we go.
Got my eyes on the prize, I follow through. I'm unstoppable.
Welcome to Charmingly Toxic, podcast where Prosecco meets psychology. And we're not diagnosing, but we are side-eyeing the charm, control, and emotional chaos on screen and off. I'm Denise Capurso, licensed therapist, trauma specialist, and unapologetic reality TV junkie. With over 25 years of experience helping women heal from narcissistic abuse, coercive control, and relational trauma, I bring clinical insight with a side of no-nonsense commentary. Starting September 20th, I'll be breaking down toxic tropes, decoding narcissistic behavior, and unpacking the messy dynamics we see in relationships, families, and our favorite housewife shows and documentaries. From culty communities to controlling in-laws, we'll explore what makes charm so dangerous, why boundaries are hard to hold, and how women can reclaim their voice with insight, humor, and zero judgment. So pour a glass, hit subscribe, and let's start calling things what they really are.
So that's a great example. Let's
I had
see.
to look this up because
She
I had to
actually
look this up.
goes in the podcast, she goes straight into the podcast, right? But she has that little intro that she can use otherwise. Let me show you.
That was so good. I'm like, I need to listen to this podcast immediately.
Oh, I know.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So this is
to share their stories, but at the same time,
so this is a podcast that I have sunsetted. I might bring it back, but I have a little intro. This is a better example of a shorter intro at the very beginning that kind of gives the brand promise.
Welcome to Bosses with Baggage. I'm Sherry Sutton, your host and business growth guide. Around here, we believe that failures are our superpowers. So in this podcast, we'll explore the many ways that setbacks can mold, shape, and change your life and your business and ensure that you come out of the fire better than before. Through interviews with business leaders and discussions of my own personal struggles, we'll unlock the secrets to turning setbacks and low moments into opportunities to thrive. From approaching your business with a servant's heart to getting comfortable with being the face of your brand, each episode will be a safe, judgment-free zone to reframe the concept of failure with honesty, empathy, grace, and a whole lot of laughter. So are you ready? Let's go.
Way too long. Full disclosure, very long. But I just wanted to give you a sense of what, the kind of thing I want you to write. Then we go
Bosses
into
with Baggage,
the actual
podcast
thing.
where we talk about
I'm wearing the same hat today.
To share their stories, but
All
at the
right. So let's share. I'm going to share with you a little bit of an example of, and this is in your workbook. So we're going to actually brainstorm some of your podcast descriptions. And I gave you a very short, place to start. So podcast name is for who want to, what is the result without whatever the pain point is. Each or every other week, Sherry Sutton, you could do it that way, shares what are the topics to help you do what. And this is a great way to kind of think about it, right? So who is this for? So here's a good example, right? I'm going to wing it for my podcast, right? Your marketing mentor is for entrepreneurs, business owners who are the face of their brand, who want clear marketing plans without sacrificing their soul. Every other week, I share marketing tips and tricks that will help you build your business with clarity and full authenticity without having to mortgage your house. Right. But that's how I would say that. Why don't you guys take a crack at that? And then what we can do, once you have kind of the basis of that, again, we can kind of put that into ChatGPT and say like, hey, make this a proper introduction, right? Make this a 1 to 2 minute introduction. I'm going to give you guys like 10 minutes. I'll come back in 5. And if you need to get some laser coaching, let me know. How's everybody doing? Still working?
Yeah, just a little.
Okay.
Sherry, I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that I've been trying to like niche down so that way when my messaging comes across, I mean, because yeah, there's all the women that are in perimenopause, and there's so many when you're watching Instagram, so many people seem to be targeting moms that are going through perimenopause, but I don't see a lot of, which is a lot of what got me into doing what I'm doing in the first place, was the struggles that I started having at work. And so I guess how do you say, is career driven women the right or like going to get your attention, because it's also women that are alone in business because they don't have necessarily an HR company or that they can kind of direct them towards programs. So what's like the best term to use for that?
Well, so is it people who don't have access to programs, or is that irrelevant? Like, I guess,
maybe
is that
I
the
would
audience
say
or is that
maybe
not the
that's
audience?
no, I guess maybe that's not necessarily people who don't have access to programs. Maybe that's kind of misleading. Um, because it's just still as far as like work itself, it's still pretty taboo to talk about. I mean, we don't talk about our periods at work. And so whenever you're having those moments, I do want to eventually go down the route where I'm working with maybe companies to help bring a bit more awareness into it, because I think a lot of women start becoming dismissed when they're at work and what they're experiencing, and they start leaving. Like 1 in 4 women leave the workforce due to their symptoms. And so I I'm just trying to figure out my right words, because there's also women that like us who are working by ourselves and experiencing things we don't have anyone to turn to, talk to.
Well, I think that's true whether you're in corporate America or not,
Okay.
right? Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I don't think this would be any different if I were in corporate America or not. I mean, I might have different healthcare solutions, but I honestly have great healthcare
Mm-hmm.
as an entrepreneur. So I don't know if that's it. I think it's
Okay.
yeah, maybe it's it's balancing work and menopause, work and kids and parents and menopause, right? And or
Yeah.
perimenopause, right? So I think it's okay to say I don't to say work, you could even just say, balancing work and right, or it's either it may not be about balancing, but destigmatizing these issues at work.
Yeah.
Or you could just say ambitious, right? If you say ambitious, it's generally going to mean that they're working.
Okay. Yeah. And that is true. I had tried in previous, like narrowing down my verbiage. I had ambitious as one of my words at one point
Yeah.
in time.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, my brain started saying career driven.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't know as a small business owner if I mean, I do consider it my career, but it's my business. I call it my, I refer to it more as my
yeah.
business, so I think well, and the whole point of being ambitious is I ain't got time for this crap.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
I like
that's
that
the whole
perspective.
thing. Is
Mhm.
like, I don't have time. I don't have time to deal with this, right? Anybody who's ambitious or career driven or whatever, it's, yeah, it's okay, whatever. If you work with a bunch of dudes, you can't talk about it. I talk about it every day in my
Mhm.
business. Like, I don't, like, I was in the bathroom yesterday and a lady and I got in a whole conversation. It was a networking event, got in a whole
Mhm.
conversation about it. So yes, maybe in the corporate world. So, are you going to destigmatize it? Maybe, right? But I think you
Mhm.
just make it okay for women to talk.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Because we don't have time for it, right? We've got
Mhm.
other things going on. We're ambitious women. We don't have time for it. And I think if you're talking to ambitious women, it's generally going to be, very ambitious, depending on, it's going to be, I'm super ambitious. I don't have time for this. What can I do to fix it?
Mhm. No, I like circling back to that word, and I probably should have just gone with my instinct, my gut initially, and not let my brain get involved.
Always. Always. Tasha, how are you? Is this helping? I thought that this for you might actually help.
Yeah, this has been good. So I'm still not 100% on the title yet. I keep going between Team Dynamics Unplugged versus Mind Over Teams because I really want to make sure that the psychology element is in it because this is how I'm going to drive it way beyond my dad. So that's why I'm not sure of the title yet. But Chat GPT, it was amazing. I mean, not surprising. Obviously, it needs a lot more refinement because I still think it's a bit long. But it's something like this. Welcome to Mind Over Teams, the podcast for business leaders who know that true competitive advantage starts with your people. I'm Dr. Clapperton, and in the show, we get down to the nitty gritty of team dynamics, what's working, what's not, and why your teams might be underperforming, even when the talent is there. And then it goes on about why teams struggle. It's really about capacity, it's about communication gaps, behavioral friction, misaligned motivation, and broken trust, and the human factors that silently derail performance. Every week on Mind Over Teams, I speak with leaders from around the world, across industries, time zones, and organizational cultures to unpack the real challenges teams face behind the scenes. It keeps going. This isn't about buzzwords or fluffy leadership theory. It's about giving you practical, people-driven solutions grounded in behavioral insight that you can apply to your teams right now. So if you're ready to lead with clarity, unlock performance, and turn team challenges into opportunities, you're at the right place. This is Mind Over Teams, where leadership meets behavior and people power performance.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
Amen, sister.
So it's a good start.
I like it. It's a great start. It's a great start. It's a great
I need to
great start.
refine it a bit, but I
Yeah.
really like that it's bringing in the kind of behavioral insight because that's what I bring. So I think that's really good.
And I think one of the other things that you can do is sometimes if we don't have the name, making the description, we can then nail the description and then we can go back to ChatGPT and say, hey,
Exactly.
I really like this description. Give me some titles that fit this description a little bit better. And you might get something different. And I definitely encourage you to don't only use chat. Go over to Claude, try Claude. That's a good one, right? There's different, there's different options out there. Claude is known for writing much better. There's, what's the Microsoft one? Why am I drawing a blank on the Microsoft?
Isn't Microsoft
Copilot.
Gemini?
Copilot. So actually, Denise uses Copilot. Denise Capurso, we saw her intro. She uses Copilot, and the only thing what is it Copilot that she uses? Anyway, the only thing I don't like about Copilot is every time you have to tell it your vibe and your voice. So
it doesn't.
ChatGPT will remember that if you do it right. So
Okay.
I need to post it in the group. Let me write myself a note to do that. I have a ChatGPT podcast that I did on how to create a custom ChatGPT, and I think it would be really good for you guys. So I will post it in the group. So we have it. Hold on.
Thank you. That would be great.
GPT. Okay. I mean, it's out there anyway, but just to make it easy for you on group. Okay. I got myself a note of that. Rory, how is it going? You might have the same thing, right? Where as you're talking about it a little bit more, you might be able to narrow down your title.
Yeah, I stuck in here. Do I just read kind of what the little intro was?
Yeah.
Let me read it. Welcome to the Rory Money Talks HR and Taxes Unplugged. The podcast where we strip away corporate jargon and talk about what really matters in business, people, payroll, and profit. I'm Rory Money, also known as the HR Tax Girl, founder of Magnet HR Group with over 25 years of hands-on experience helping companies find smarter, leaner, and more cost-effective ways to manage HR, payroll, and taxes. Each week, we'll dive into real-world strategies, uncover hidden costs, and break down the truths about big payroll and PEO companies that they don't always tell you. I think that's got to be reworded. If you're a small and mid-sized business owner looking for clarity, control, and cost savings, this show is for you. No fluff, no filters, no corporate spin, just real talk, real numbers, and real solutions.
Okay, good. Great start. Great start. And I think the same thing I said to Tasha is take that, refine it, and then you can go back to chat and say, hey, make me a good title with this. And oh, by the way, my name's Rory Money, and so we should have some money in there, right? You know. All right. We've only got a few minutes. It went fast, huh? I feel like we need more time for these classes. So, all right. On our All right. Oh, sorry, I went ahead. On the outro, we're not going to spend time on it. It's there is a formula inside for your outro. Essentially, your outro is really very much the same all the time, right? Thanks for listening to the podcast name. If you loved what you heard today, it would mean the world if you tell a friend or subscribe or whatever that is. Don't forget to, head over to our website, download this freebie, whatever it is, so you never miss an episode, right? Or I just say, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, remember, you ain't got time for perimenopause, and we can help. Go eat carrots. Remember we were joking about that last time? Rory, we were joking last time, and Natalia, we were joking in our first thing that Trisha was just going to tell us that we have to eat carrots. That's all we need. That's all we're going to eat is carrots.
Let's solve it all.
That's it. That's the solution. In my attempt to make a very easy little message, I narrowed it down to carrots. Don't know why, but carrots. All right. So I'm gonna leave you with that. A couple things that we need from you. So I'm going to put this up on the screen. I will also put this in the discussion, but please head over to this section on Google Drive, and you're going to need for Natalia to upload logos, any design guides you have, at least 3 headshots, and your deadline to do this is by next Friday. So I will put a link in there. If you don't have headshots and you need headshots, let me know, and I'm happy to do a brand shoot. I can do a brand shoot with you. You guys got it? You each, inside that Google Drive, you each have your own folder. So we will use that as the place for you. Here's what I want really quick. Natalia is going to give you your thumbnail. She's also going to create an overlay. So an overlay is like this that you can put your video into. And so it just adds a little bit of branding. And then the same for the video itself, and just gives you just a little bit of extra branding. So that's what you're going to get, which is super exciting.
Are you emailing me podcast names and
and
websites?
then I'll send you their podcast names too. Yeah, I'm going to stick that in. Let's add that to the folders too. Good point. You'll need to know
if you can drop in a Google Doc that has the name of the podcast, your name, the intro, all those things help me understand the feel of the brand now that we're not doing a big strategy thing. So anything that you like solved last week, and then this module, just put it in that document, even like your links to your website, or if you have a LinkedIn, like anywhere I can go to like learn more about you, that would be super helpful.
Thank you. So, I think we had a really good session today. I hope it was good for you guys. This is one other piece of stuff that you need to do for homework, which is picking your music. So I'm going to do this real quick, and then I will also put a link to this in the group. But you want to kind of match your vibe, right? If you're silly, be silly. If you're straightforward, be straightforward. You also just want it. It's a great opportunity to have like something that's a good reflection of you. I use ukulele in all of my things. It's like part of my brand. It's this kind of quirky. So if you remember from that Bosses with Baggage intro, there's ukulele in it, and it's like this funny whistly, right? And I've done that since my photography days, and so it's just sort of one of my things. So just there is a great site. It's called Envato, and you can go on there, listen to different pieces of music, and just tell me which ones you like. And then in the Google Drive folder, same Google Drive folder, there is a folder called Intro and Exit. And then there's a folder, a document inside of there called Music Choices. And that's where you're going to, that's where the instructions are on how to choose your music, how to send us the link, and all of that. And again, that's due by next weekend.
I love the accountability you have going on here. I wish I had that. Oh my God. It's so hard to stay accountable and do these little things on top of like regular life. So good for you guys. This is great.
I know. Well, that's why I think it's good to do a group, like a group course. I mean, even one-on-one, I think you can skate a little more in one-on-one almost than group. People ask me all the time, do I need a website for my podcast? If it gets big, yes, but generally it's fine to just include it in your existing site, right? And this is, again, a good example. You already saw Asia's website is a good example of how to do that. So I would just say, just include it in your existing website. I use it in my blog a lot, but I wanted you guys to, I know that's sort of one of the next questions that people always have is that piece. And then, do you need a special handle or something else on YouTube when it comes to branding? You can, if you want. It can just go on your existing socials. And we'll talk about this a lot more, but these are a couple branding questions that I thought of that might come up. So I wanted to give you a little sense of kind of my opinions on those two things. We'll talk about this again a lot when we get to the marketing module. So I know we only have one more minute. I hope this was super helpful. Head over to the group, ask questions. I will upload this recording as well as the slides. I'll also do a post that's just homework for next time. Also, I will please take a look ahead at the shopping list, because next time what we're going to do is technology. And so I want you to be looking at least at some of the things. So I'll do a little video for you about what you need and all that, just to give you a little primer. But you may want to shop for it ahead of time so you can do some of that during our next meeting. So
Thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for letting me
Thanks,
peek in the group. Nice to meet you,
Nice
everybody.
to meet you, Natalia.
Hi, guys.
Bye. Nice to meet you, Rory.